Well, good morning to all of you. I appreciate you hopping on for the second in our series of FSC trainings for this year. Just a few little reminders here as we get started. You will get a certificate if you attend all 3 trainings in person, and that happens at the end of the time or the end of the 3rd session. So following that, each of the coordinators will report to us who attended, and then the certificates will be emailed out for each of you. If you are not muted, I'd like you to please take just a second to go ahead and mute. That way we make sure we're not hearing background noise. And then trying to think what other questions I had. So we'll be here for 2 hours today. If you remember, just to kind of get your head in the right place here, last time we were together, we had Sarah Sexton here, and she was talking to us about how to coach families through resources. So as you listen to the speakers today and next month, I would like you to sort of think about what Sarah has told to us and the things that you're hearing today and how you might utilize the resources that you're hearing about and introduce them to families. So as we learned last month, when you're coaching a family through resources, it's more than just handing the family a list of resources that could match their needs. It's helping family identify what the need is, what the existing resources they have already are, helping them identify other resources that might be available to them, and then also sharing information that you have that they may not be aware of. And finally, helping the family prioritize what steps they can take. So the goal of today and next month is to help you become more familiar with the statewide resources that are available to every single program and for every family that may need it. Some of the resources that we're going to introduce you or bring back to your attention are ones that you may be familiar with, and some maybe that you aren't as familiar with. The presentations are sort of organized the best we could to start with those that are open to more families. And then as we whittle down to the final ones, there'll be a smaller population that will be able to access those resources. So each program is going to give you a brief explanation of who they are, what services they provide, and who qualifies for each of those services, as well as how to access those. So this presentation is being recorded, and it'll be put into Basecamp along with any other handouts that the presenters have that they want to make sure you have access to once you leave this training today. So our presenters today are Abby from Assistive Tech of Kansas, Karen from Special Healthcare Needs, and Aaron from Sound Start, and finally Leslie from Families Together. And we're going to start with Abby.
Good morning, everybody. And Jenny, thank you for inviting us to come here today. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here. So like Jenny said, I am with Assistive Technology for Kansans, and I am the ATK program coordinator. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about our different services that we provide. So first, what is Assistive Technology for Kansans? What is AT? What services does Assistive Technology for Kansans provide? Give you guys a case study example of our services, and then how do you guys access these services? So what is Assistive Technology for Kansans? We are a statewide assistive technology program that is funded by the Administration for Community Living and the Department of Health and Human Services. And our mission is to serve all individuals across the lifespans with all disabilities and health conditions. So we don't have a criteria. We want to serve anybody and everybody who may benefit from assistive technology. So what is assistive technology? According to the 21st Century Assistive Technology Act, assistive technology means technology designed to be utilized in an assistive technology device or an assistive technology service. So a device means it's any item or piece of equipment or product system that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. So in the example we have in this picture, we have a little kiddo who is using a zip-zack, and that's increasing his access and mobility within his natural environment. So thinking about those different AT that we could use, so whether it's switches, communication devices, items to increase mobility, those would all be devices that we would consider. A service is any service that is directly assists an individual with a disability in the selection, acquisition, or use of assistive technology device. So you all as providers, you guys are providing that service of helping them by making them aware of assistive technology. So what services does assistive technology for Kansans provide? One of our services is we do device demonstrations, and we really value this opportunity because it allows families, individuals who are benefiting from assistive technology to get a hands-on opportunity with a range of device solutions. So it's giving them opportunities to really compare features so they know what features work really well and what features aren't really working well. And it allows them to find what works well and what's not, and what is going to work the best for the child. And we have AT specialists on staff that can work with you guys to do those device demonstrations. And we generally will bring 3 devices to start just to kind of get your exposure. But that doesn't stop there. If those 3 devices don't work, we're more than willing to bring out more devices until we find that right fit. So for example, we might, if we're talking about communication, on the screen here, you see a quick talker, you see the Go Talk, and that one is the iPad picture, and then a Prox talker. So I'm going to give you guys a little sample of what a demonstration might look like. So we have the Prox talker on the screen, and then I will show you the actual device here in a second. This device uses RFID, which means radio frequency identification technology to enable verbal picture communication. So these would be for those kiddos that you're already using some sort of picture exchange communication system. And this allows you to also have that verbal output. So you're going to place a sound tag card on one of the buttons, then push on the button, and that's going to trigger your voice output. This particular device comes with 80 pre-recorded sound tags and then 60 blank sound tags that you can customize to your choosing. And just for your information, the price of this device is $3,149. So I'm going to stop my sharing just for a second so I can actually show you the device. So I'm going to hold this up so this is a Prox talker. So if you see here at the bottom, there is 5 buttons here that you can press. So at the top, I have my picture cards. So if I want to make a message, I might want to say,
I want.
Can you guys hear that okay? Yes? Okay.
To play. Foosball.
So I have.
I want to play foosball.
So I just put those picture icons on here, and then the child just has to press them. It does come with a little keychain here to help you guys customize it. So with this device, this is a little keychain I'm talking about. This allows you, so there are blank cards that you can record. So what you would do to record a message on the blank cards is I'm going to stick this blank card up here on the screen, on the square. I'm going to lay this on the square next to it.
Press card.
It says press card to be recorded, so I'm going to press this one.
At the top, begin recording yourself.
My name is Abby.
Please wait.
My name is Abby. So it's recorded the message. Let's say I didn't like how it sounded, or I decided I want to put a new message. There is another tile that will say erase. So I'm just going to lay this here, push down,
To be reset.
and then I'm going to push this card.
Sound erased.
So now when I push this button, it just beeps telling me there's no message on this button at all. There is a another tile that you can check your battery levels. This is battery operated, so you don't have to charge the device, but you want to periodically check to see where your battery level is, and it'll tell you. To increase the volume on it, there is a volume up and a volume down button that you can push on the squares, and it's going to change your volume level. So that is the Prox Talker. Any questions on that device? Alrighty. So like I said, I'm gonna get back to my slides. That would be something that our staff would come to you guys and show you that device, just like I did there. And then you guys would have the opportunity for the family or the kiddo that you guys are working with to really engage with that device, explore it, see if it's meeting their needs. And from there, you guys, we have that device demonstration. You've picked an item. We also have a short-term device loan. So we allow individuals to borrow devices across all AT categories from our loan system for a specified period of time. Typically, that's about 4 to 6 weeks. It really depends on the demand of items. So certain items, we have a higher demand than others. So we might have a little bit of shorter time, but we're going to try and give it to you for the time period you need. We provide technical assistance on use and care for devices, and we do require professional consultation on some devices. We really recognize and value professional input and recognize sometimes that is needed when making a device selection. So we will ask of that sometimes. Devices, you can come pick them up from our loan system, or we will ship them via UPS at no cost to you guys. So we'll ship it out to you. When it's time to return it, you'll email our loan coordinator and she's going to send you a shipping label to put back on the box that it came in, and you'll just mail it right back to us. Our loan system is subcontracted with OCCK in Salina. I have attached their phone number, and you can ask for the ATK device loan system, or you can ask for Cassie Ramon. She is our loan coordinator, and she does a fabulous job and has a wide array of knowledge across all areas of AT. So if you had a question like, I have a kiddo with cortical vision impairment and we're wanting to work on communication, do you have anything? And she's going to help guide you through that process. So if you don't have an idea of what you're wanting, you can definitely reach out and ask. Something that I would tell you to kind of help the process is on our website, which is on this PowerPoint, and I will actually send it to Jenny to share with you guys. We have a loan request form, and that form, if you fill that form out, on the back page of it, it has where you can identify what devices you want. If you don't know what devices you want, but you have an idea of the type of device you're looking for, if you just write a little description, that's going to help Cassie better keep track of who she's reaching out to. So that's probably the best way to get Cassie's attention, is to send that form in. That way she knows who the child is, who the contact person is, and what you're looking for, and she has record of that. So using that form, but you can always call the loan system as well if you just have a quick question. So I wanted to give you guys a case study of a short-term device loan so you can kind of see what this process looks like. In the picture, we have a little girl from Western Kansas. Her name is Emery, and in this picture, she is in 1st grade, and she has hydrocephalus and other neurological disabilities. She started AT communication experiences with a Big Mac switch and switch operated squealing pig at 19 months. And everyone learned that she had a lot to say, and she progressed through a range of communication devices that she loaned out from our communication system. And when she turned 6, they progressed to the eye gaze system. She tried the PC iMobile from ATK from our loan system, and they found that she was able to read books, play with dolls, and participate in interactive games. And from there, after they had that device loan, they figured out what device met her needs, and then were able to reach out to vendors after borrowing one for a few weeks, and to get her look for a more permanent option for her. And through that, they were able to identify funding and go through their health insurance and get that device covered. And she ended up getting the TD I-13 with the partner window. So she started with device demonstrations of a wide array of communication devices, and they kind of waited to see what was going to be that long-term solution going through the loan system. So you see that it started at 19 months, and then it wasn't until she was about 6 years old that we really felt we found what she needed. So it took a bit of time to get there, but then we were able to get that device funded through private insurance. So when you're thinking about devices, just know that sometimes it takes time to find the right solution for a kiddo. And especially as they're growing and developing, those developmental skills change and change as they grow. The next service we have is our key reuse program. So a lot of you guys are working with those little kids. And as I just mentioned, those kids are rapidly growing. They're rapidly developing and learning new skills. So we collaborate with Kansas Medicaid on a program to accept donated durable medical equipment that are refurbished by qualified local vendors, and then we give it back to Kansans of all ages. So if you happen to get a device funded and the kiddo uses it for a year, a few months, but then they outgrow it and they don't need it, please feel free to donate that back to us, and then we can redistribute it back out to other kiddos in the community. So a great opportunity for you guys to give equipment, but also to reach out to us to see if we might have something. So maybe you can't get a piece of equipment funded. Definitely call your local AT access site and see if they have anything in their inventory that might meet your needs, especially for those kiddos that only need it for a short while, or it's an immediate urgent need that they're going to need that. Our key reuse provides over 800 pieces of equipment each year, and it's valued at over $700,000. Funding. So our ATK staff support individuals by helping them determine eligibility for public and private funding options, assist with eligibility paperwork, gathering the documents, and help with appeals as needed to purchase needed technology. So they have a wide array of knowledge and all the resources that are out there. So I think a lot of the times when we're looking at this technology, we say that's great, but how are we going to pay for it? Because as we saw the price on that Prox Talker, it's a pretty high dollar value item. So definitely reaching out to our AT staff. They are great advocates and really try to work with you guys to help find that funding to be able to provide that right piece of AT equipment for kiddos. And we do say that individuals and or families must agree to the type of funding effort. We really want to make sure that the family is first and they're on board with all decisions that we're making. Our next one is TAP. So this is our Kansas Telecommunications Access Program. We provide adapted telephones, mobile devices, signalers, specifically designed to help with access to telecommunications, as well as smartphones and tablets with identified software to address your particular needs. And now you may be thinking, well, Abby, most of these kids can't independently make a phone call, but they may have a family member who lives in another state and they're going to be using the phone. I talk to my niece all the time via FaceTime, and it was actually funny the other day. I was talking to her dad on the phone. We weren't using FaceTime, and she was really confused because she was so used to FaceTime and why there was no picture on the screens. So thinking about those kiddos, would a iPad for telecommunications be so helpful for that kiddo to increase their access and communication with other family members? Is there ways that we can adapt that iPad to make that more accessible for them to be able to call their loved ones or grandparents? I think grandparents, aunt and uncles that live in other states. So definitely reach out about this program because we provide those as long as they qualify at no cost to that family. We also have our ICANN Connect program. This is also known as the Kansas Deaf-Blind Equipment Distribution Project. And to qualify, they must meet the definition for deaf blindness in the Helen Keller National Center Act and have a qualifying income. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, I don't know if they qualify in the Helen Keller National Center. And that's okay. Reach out to our AT staff and they can help you identify whether they're going to meet that qualification or not. And to clarify, they have to have a hearing loss and have visual impairment to qualify it. And there's certain criteria for that. But again, you guys don't need to know that criteria. Reach out to us and we'll help you determine if they meet that need. And again, this program is focused on that telecommunication aspect. So thinking about those kiddos who are visually impaired and have a hearing impairment, they still want to be able to communicate with their grandparents or aunt and uncles that live afar. So what technology is out there that we could support them in that communication modality? So now how do you access these services? Assistive Technology for Kansas is a statewide program, as I mentioned earlier, and this is a picture of our map. So we have an access site, an affiliate site in Western Kansas, which is that yellow region. And those are in Oakley and Garden City. We have a North Central access site, which is in blue, and our office is located in Salina. Our South Central site is located in Wichita, and that's that green region. Our Northeast access site, we hope to be able to announce a location here in the coming months. But for right now, you can contact our main access site or main site, and we will help meet the needs in that Northeast region. And then the reddish pink color, that is the Southeast, and that is office is located in Parsons. So our offices are located in certain areas, but they will stretch and reach that whole region based on their color. So blue is accessing that whole blue area of the map. So we will travel out to meet you guys wherever you're at. So here is some contact information for your regional AT access sites. Our Western site is with the North Kansas Education Service Center in Oakley, and that's their number. Our North Central site is affiliated with OCCK. Our South Central and Southeast are with the Skill Independent Living Center, and their phone numbers are on there. And for the Northeast region, you can call my number, which I have on the screen right now, with any questions, or you can also email me. And that goes for the whole state. If there's a need that you have and you want to contact me directly, absolutely, please do so. I'd be happy to chat with you and answer any questions you may have. But if you guys have any questions right now, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do you still offer, and you may get to this later, but do you still offer like people to come out and kind of assess the need of a child to get the best fit, especially for AAC devices, et cetera?
Yeah, so that would be within our device demonstration. We'll come out. We might ask you a couple questions before, like what are you kind of looking for? And we'll come out and see what the kiddo kind of needs and kind of make that best determination of what meets their needs. So absolutely. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today. And like I said, I have my contact information and I will share my slides and that loan form with Jenny after this presentation. So don't hesitate to reach out with any more questions or needs. Oh, I see a question here. If a family doesn't meet your income criteria, do you help them find alternative funding sources for a device? So we don't actually fund any of the equipment. We are helping you guys identify funding, whether it's through insurance or private funding entities. So we don't have an income criteria. The income criteria comes like for TAP and ICANN Connect. Those do have income criteria. So if they're not eligible with those programs, we can look at other funding options for them.
The funding criteria is pretty generous.
And the funding criteria for that is fairly generous, and we can definitely give you that information if you think you have a kiddo that would qualify for it. All right. Well, thank you guys for your time, and I will be stepping away, but Sheila Simmons is also still here, and she'll be available in the chat for a little while after I'm here. But thank you guys so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Zabby. Okay, we're gonna shift gears now to special healthcare needs, and Karen Perez is going to share her screen and share her information.
Hi, everyone. I am Karen Perez, and I am the program manager for the Kansas Special Healthcare Needs Program. Let me see if I can get my screen to work. Okay, there we go. So I'll talk to you a little about all the services that we offer. First of all, the purpose of our program is to promote the functional skills of persons who have or are at risk for a disability or chronic disease. Our program services children, infants from birth all the way up to age 21 who have eligible medical conditions. And then here on the screen, you can see what our qualifying conditions are. We're able to offer services for children that have been diagnosed with spina bifida, cleft lip, cleft palate, congenital heart disease, burns that require surgical intervention, orthopedic conditions. We do assist with some gastrointestinal, hearing loss, some select vision disorders, again, some craniofacial anomalies, seizures, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and genetic and metabolic conditions. So any condition identified through the newborn screening testing, we also assist with. Our program has 4 core functions. The main one being our direct assistance programs, which is, we call them DAPS for short. And that is some funding where we're able to help pay for medical services or any other need, and I'll go more into detail on that. We also offer care coordination. And then we have another part of our program with different funding, which is a special bequest. And through that part of the program, we're able to help cover items that are not typically covered by an insurance, but we know that it would help improve the quality of life for the child. So any kind of like any assistive technology, mobility items, things like that. And then we also offer one-time diagnostic services. So we help provide funding for families that would like their child to be diagnosed, but they don't have insurance, or their current insurance is not wanting to cover that service. Okay, and a little about our DAPs. We currently have 9 different DAPs. When a child comes into our program, they're able to select up to 2 per year. And each year as they renew, they're able to change it up a bit if they would like. So one of our DAPs is our medication DAP. Through this DAP, we're able to help pay for medication that is not covered by insurance, or if the child doesn't have insurance, we'll pay for the medication. We're also able to help pay for any supplements that the child might be needing. Usually these are not covered by insurance, vitamins or over-the-counter medication. And the limit per child per year is up to $11,000 that we can assist with. Our second app is our medical equipment and supplies app. So again, on this app, we're able to help provide DME that insurance is not covering. We use this a lot for our clients that have Medicaid, and if I believe Medicaid has a policy where if they provided a wheelchair, the family has to wait at least 2, I don't know if it's 3 years or maybe even 5, to get a second wheelchair, or if the child needs a gait trainer or any other medical equipment. Medicaid can only cover so much. So that's where we come in and we're able to fill in the gap. We're also able to help with medical supplies like diapers, hearing aid molds, batteries, feeding supplies. We recently added wipes to go with the diapers as well. And the limit for this app is $10,000 per year per child. Our medical service app. This app is for our kiddos that are not eligible for insurance. They're uninsured. So through this app, we're able to help pay for their preventative appointments. So that's like a one well child check per year, and a vision and a dental. And besides those apps, we also offer 6 specialty visits. And that includes x-rays, lab work. If the child's needing surgery, we're able to help pay up to $4,500. Usually we talk with providers and we're able to come to an agreement so they can write off the rest. We do reimburse at 15% more than the Medicaid rate. So some of the providers like to work with us because we were able to give them just a little more than what Medicaid does. And then again, we have a lot of kiddos on Medicaid, and Medicaid can only cover a certain amount of visits for speech and occupational therapy, for physical therapy. So we're able to kind of step in and cover the rest of the sessions if need be. And the limit for the staff is 13,500 per year per child. Our orthodontic DAP is for our kiddos that have been diagnosed with cleft lip, cleft palate, and this is for the we're able to use this app once they're a little older and they've had the plastic surgery and received all those services, and now they need the orthodontic treatment. We're able to help cover that for them with a provider of their choice. And the limit is 7,500 a year. And then we have our travel tab, and this is for children that do not receive Medicaid, just because Medicaid does provide that service to all children. But if we have a family that lives in, Western Kansas, and they have to travel 2-3 hours to see the provider, we're able to reimburse them for gas at the state rate. If we do have some families that they have to travel maybe 4 hours, so 4 hours there, 4 hours back makes a full day. So we do offer lodging. We'll pay for their hotel so they can stay and rest and then travel back the day after. And the limit is $2,000 for that. And then for our families, well, our income guidelines are a little higher than Medicaid, so we do have a lot of kiddos that they don't qualify for Medicaid because of their income, but they will qualify for our program. So those families usually have private insurance, and for that, we have the co-payment deductible co-insurance step, which we help pay or reimburse for the deductible up to $6,000 per year. And then anything that private insurance does not cover, like once insurance has paid their portion, the family can send us the bill with the balance and we will pay the balance. And then this is our newest tab, the caregiver relief tab. So what this allows, it's not in-home nursing, but this allows the family to choose a care provider, even, if it's older sibling or if it's an aunt, uncle, cousin, as long as they have their CPR certificate, first aid, and driver's license, and they are 18 and older, we can reimburse this person $300 per month to be able to care for the child. So if mom needs to go out, in just a full day, she wants to go buy groceries by herself for once, she's able to have this caretaker come in the house and just help watch the child, and then we will reimburse this person for helping. And our hemophilia DAP is for kiddos that have hemophilia. We're able to pay for one comprehensive treatment plan, plus help with the factor formula. And the limit is $7,500 per year. And then our last step is our metabolic product for our children that have been diagnosed with PKU or other amino acid diagnosis. We're able to help pay for their formula, as well as low protein food for children 18 and younger. Our limit is $750 per month. And I believe we can pay up to, well, because we do provide services up to the age of 21. Sometimes we do get young pregnant mothers. So if the client is pregnant or nursing, we can up our annual limit of $9,000 to $14,000 per year. So that's all on our DAPs. And then the other service that we offer is care coordination. And this is a service that's offered to all of our clients. We pretty much focus on the holistic approach. So it's not only looking at what the child needs, but what is mom, what is dad? Do siblings need anything? Are you struggling in school? Do you need resources for employment, housing? Would you like me to find you support groups? We try to identify the needs in the household, and then we get with the families and ask them, what is your priority? Like, what is your biggest need? And depending on what the family decides, we will then develop an action plan to meet those needs and go from there. This service is optional, so it's an opt-in, opt-out basis. And we made it optional because we've noticed that a lot of our families have a lot of case managers from different agencies. So sometimes it is overwhelming for families to have, people calling left and right from from all different agencies. So we offer it as an opt-in basis. Whenever you need us, we're here, and we're also more than happy to collaborate with the current caseworkers that the family has to provide a better outcome for the family. And then our special bequest part of the program, this is different funding. It's also financial assistance. But what this is, we're able to provide things that are not considered a medical necessity per se, but we know they better the quality of life for the child. So we've done portable ramps, built-on ramps, home modifications to make, the bathroom more accessible, their bedrooms, specialized equipment. We've done a lot of communication devices as well, even camp registrations, just we tell families, think outside the box. What's gonna help you? For our kiddos that have epilepsy, we've done a lot of embrace watches, so it triggers an alert when the child is going to have a seizure, and it sends it to the phone of mom or dad. So just anything that's going to improve the quality of life for the child and will relieve some stress for parents, we're able to request. The limit for this is $5,000 per quarter. We meet with the commissioners who handle these requests quarterly, and we kind of present the case. This is why the family needs it. This is why it would be helpful. Here's a letter from the provider saying they're okay with the family receiving the item, and then the commissioners, they vote whether yes or no, they will grant the item. The commissioners, we currently have 4 commissioners, and they are all a parent of a child with a disability, so they're very understanding. It's not typical for an item to be denied, but when it is denied, usually the commissioners come back and give other options, or it's because there's a safety concern, etc. And
Yeah.
then our one-time diagnostics, this is not a service that we offer for second opinions. If the family, wants a second opinion from what they were previously told, this is just for children that are needing a diagnosis, or if the family suspects there's something going on and insurance is not wanting to cover it because for whatever reason, whether it's Medicaid or private insurance, we will pay for that diagnostic visit. The family does not have to apply for a program in order to get this service. All they have to do is call and give us the child's name, date of birth, and what is it that you're wanting to have your child screened for, and who will be doing the screening. Where are you going to take your child? We have a lot of children that have migrated to the country, and they had a diagnosis in their home country, and we've seen some providers not accept those diagnoses. So in that case, we were able to help with the one-time diagnosis so they can have an official US diagnosis.
Karen, can I interrupt for just a second? There is a
Yes.
question in the chat.
Okay.
Is the program only for children already on Medicaid and receiving disability? And how is it funded?
So this is funded through Title V, and no, the child does not have to be on Medicaid, but it is one of our requirements. If the family has the ability to apply for Medicaid, we'd like them to apply. If they don't qualify due to citizenship status or being over income or resources, that is fine. We will accept the application. Did I answer? It is Title V funding. And children do not, no, we don't ask for a US citizenship. But they do have to have one of the qualifying medical diagnoses. And I can go back to the screen here in a little bit. I believe this was my last slide. Yeah. So there's my information. We are currently working with our IT department to have an online application to make it easier for families, but currently we only have paper applications. I'd be more than happy to share that application with you guys. We have it in English and Spanish. Is there a list of genetic conditions we can add? Yes, I will. So any condition, how we base our list for genetic conditions is we just look at the newborn screening panel. If it's a if it's a condition there, then that's a condition we will approve. And then for one-time diagnostics, we're not able to do genetic testing. I think we've gotten that question a lot, so I think it's something that we're looking at into changing here in the future. So currently, we're not able to help with genetic testing, but we might in the future. Yes, it's very pricey. And I believe that's the reason why we've always had to kind of like stay away from that, but I don't know if I don't see our one-time diagnostic services get utilized as often as they could. So I'm wondering if maybe we can help with that. If we could work with a provider that's willing to, lower the rate, or a lab. With insurance, yes. So for this question, if a mom is expecting a baby with a known condition that will require NICU time, is mom able to apply for help with the insurance deductible DAP to help with the cost once the baby is born? So yes, if mom wants to go ahead and apply, that way the child is eligible and active in our program the day he or she is born, we will be able to help with that cost. Is there a wait list? No, there's not a wait list. Typically, once somebody applies, we're able to approve them within maybe 2 or 3 weeks. It all depends on medical records. It helps a lot if when families complete their application, they send in the medical records, because we do have to verify medical eligibility. And sometimes when we request those medical records, they take forever. So if the family already has them on hand and can give us a copy, it'll make it faster. And then let me go back to our list of conditions. So if the child does not have any of these eligible conditions here, as long as the child is receiving SSI, we're able to offer the special bequest part of the program and care coordination. So while they won't be eligible for DAPs, they'll be eligible to request an item quarterly or a service if they are receiving SSI, if that makes sense. So we have a lot of kiddos in our program that have autism, and we're not able to help with any service with that funding. But each quarter they're able to request like noise cancellation headphones, weighted blankets, just things that will help them. Is there income eligibility for this program? There is. It is higher than Medicaid. So if you have a child that's receiving Medicaid, know that they will qualify for a program. You say they don't have to be on SSI. If they are on SSI and they don't have a qualifying condition, that's an automatic qualifier. So it's not a requirement for them to be receiving SSI, but if they're receiving SSI and they don't qualify medically, they can still qualify for the other services in our program. Any other questions? We have a family not eligible for Medicaid, but meets medical guidelines. Okay, well, if you want to send them my way, and let me come back so you guys can take my information. Either way, I'll send this to Jenny, and then I'll also send out an application so she can share with you guys. But just because they don't qualify for Medicaid doesn't mean they won't qualify for our program. We have a lot of children that are not eligible for Medicaid, but they're on our program. Any other questions? How often are birth to 3 kids able to access funding? Yearly. So as long as they keep renewing their application yearly, it's ongoing. So I do believe every state, so does every state have a similar program? Yes. Missouri has the same identical program. I'm not sure when it comes to the citizenship requirement though. How do you often funding kids under 3 or over 3? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question. We help children from 0 to 21. So we have ages vary in our program, but yeah, if children are under 3 or over 3, we're able to help. Any other questions? Is it more common for families to access funding once they have turned 3 or in the first 3 years? I find it more after the 3 years, just because during that time frame, 0 to 3, they have so many resources, or a lot of caseworkers helping them navigate the system. Usually we'll have caseworkers reach out to us and say, hey, I have a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, can you help me with provide funding for this item, for this service? But it's really rare that the family reaches out to us. Once they lose those services, that's when we're getting more families reaching out and asking for our services. Anything else? Well, if you guys think of any more questions, I do have another meeting that I need to get to here in a little bit, but I will send this to Jenny, and then you guys can, I'll send also a copy of our decision schema so you know when to refer clients to our program and our application. And then, do you have suggestions for us to help increase access for funding? We have families all the time stuck between trying to find resources and not able to get them. Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. I yeah, we see that on our side all the time. We as a program, we're trying to do more outreach. I think it's something a lot of people don't know about us, so we're trying to, just be out there in the community, promoting our program, and collaborating with other agencies, because even, with Abby presented assistive technology. I heard of them, but I never really knew what it entailed. And now, as I was, listening to her presentation, my mind was clicking, and I'm like, well, we can collaborate. We can help pay for those items that Medicaid is not wanting to pay. So I think just being more informed, us as caseworkers or care coordinators, and having all the tools so we can provide those to the families. But I don't know, something has to give so families can just, click one thing and see all the resources. That would be nice. Anything else? Can you be eligible if on the TA waiver, but income is too high for Medicaid? Yes, as long as they meet our income guidelines and medical conditions, yes. We've actually collaborated with we've had clients that are on the TA waiver, and maybe they needed a lift or a ceiling tracker for the lift, and it was just, I believe the TA waiver only covers up to 7,000, I think. And what the family was needing was close to 15,000, so we were able to help fund the rest. So in those cases, yeah, we collaborate with Medicaid. Has anyone here had a kid successfully use the special care needs program? Any examples of what they used it for? May help my brain to think through my caseload. I think this is the question for all of you guys.
Karen, there was one more question up here too, as people are trying to answer that question, but the question is it more effective for an FSC to call you directly to ensure we're expediting the process?
Yes, yes. So do send me, I'm in and out of meetings all the time, but email is great because I can just look at my phone and make sure that it gets routed to our eligibility specialist and I can get an update. PKU child had access to funding for special foods about 7 years ago. And that's another thing on PKU. If a child comes onto our program, let's say at, age 0, 5, etc., as long as they come to our program before they turn 18, they can stay on for a lifetime. That is a state statute. So as an adult, we do have several adults that are, above 40, and we're helping cover their formula. We're not able to offer any other service, but we pay for their formula. This is the first time I have heard of it. Thank you. Yes, we're the state's best kept secret. I think we have only had a couple of kids successfully access this funding. It's great to have direct contact. Yeah, we've had a lot of staff changes in the past and I've heard that a lot, but yeah, just reach out to me, email or call. I have a child who was approved for the program and it has helped the family pay for more intensive and extensive services at an outpatient facility for OT, PT, and speech therapy. They also help him obtain a gay trainer and discuss with mom helping pay for an AAC device. We've also helped with water therapy. So regarding the question posed about using the special needs program, Johnson County ITS has not had much success. We have tried a few times, but maybe a handful have been successful. And I guess in those instances, I would love feedback to why it was not successful and what we could have done better or what services we should be looking into maybe providing in the future. If you would like to share that with me, I would love that. So it shows income guidelines on the website. Can families over income still qualify? If they are over income, we were not able to assist. Do you cover weighted blankets best for kids with autism? We can through the special requests part of the program. So that is something that we would have to petition our commissioners to grant. Any other questions? You stated earlier that US citizenship is not a requirement. What about no legal residence? Nope, we don't require a social security number. Our only requirement is that they reside in the state of Kansas. So as long as they live in Kansas, that's good enough for us. Any other questions? Okay.
Karen, we very much appreciate your time and bringing all of the services that your program helps to provide to people of Kansas, and sharing that information. Also, your information sounds like there's going to be lots of questions possibly coming your way.
Yes, yes. And please, like I said, reach out with questions and any feedback of how we can improve our services or what we've, how it's been not successful in the previous years, because we want to change that. So thank you guys for having me, and all right, see you guys later.
Bye, Karen. Thank you. And while she's logging off here, we're going to switch gears to Erin Schuweiler from Sound Start.
Okay, 1 second here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we have my PowerPoint up and running. Okay. Yeah, so my name is Erin Schuweiler, and I am the coordinator of the Sound Start program, which is Birth to 3 program serving children who are deaf and hard of hearing across the state of Kansas. Here, let me. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to see the chat very well, Jenny, so you'll have to just interrupt me. Okay. So I just wanted to start with defining some terminology, just how we talk about our children and how the language that we use in terms of our children in Kansas. So just wanted to quickly run through. So we will call them either children who are deaf and hard of hearing or deaf and hard of hearing children within the deaf community. That is interchangeable and an acceptable way to talk about our children. We try to avoid using the term hearing impaired. So while I know that that is the eligibility requirement as it's listed on the IEP, we do try to avoid it in using when we're actually talking about the children and just reserve that for the eligibility situation. And then I'm not going to go through all of these, but the other one I just like to highlight is that we talk about the families being on a journey. So we don't necessarily, we acknowledge that they have grief, but we also acknowledge that they have quite a path to go on, and they wave back and forth between having ups and downs and going back and forth between communication opportunities and those kinds of things. And then the other one I'll just highlight is hearing levels versus hearing loss. So you will hear me say hearing loss because sometimes we can't kind of avoid using it. It depends on how we have to use it, but we do try to talk about in terms of their level of hearing as it relates to access. So just to get us started, I think it's always helpful. So we have two agencies that have very similar names, and I think sometimes it can be confusing how the process goes. So there's the Sound Beginnings Newborn Hearing Screening Program. They are the ones that are in charge of the newborn hearing screening at the hospital, or if families are out of hospital, ensuring that they get the screening done. And then they are also in charge with following up to ensure that if the child was referred from that newborn hearing screening, that they have been followed up to get diagnostic testing and identification. So they are called Sound Beginnings. So their goal, their national goal, is to make sure that all of our children in the state of Kansas are screened by 1 month of age, that they are diagnosed with their hearing loss by 3 months of age, and that they get enrolled into early intervention by 6 months of age. Obviously, the earlier we can get them, the better our outcomes will be. And so, fortunately, in the state of Kansas, Part C has determined that all areas or all levels of hearing are an automatic qualifier. So we're very thankful for that. Not all states are that way. But we feel like our data is showing that all of our kids need that early intervention, even our kids with mild and unilateral hearing loss. So we're very thankful. So just so you are aware, our kids are all automatically eligible. I'm sure you all know that. So once they have been through that newborn hearing screening, and once they have gone through that diagnostic testing and identification, you will all get an email from, or someone in your program will get an email from Sound Beginnings letting you know that there's been a child that has been identified as deaf, hard of hearing in your area. So it's a straight referral to be able to get into your services. And then once they enter your services, we would love for you to include us to provide that specialized support for deaf, hard of hearing. So we depend on you all to reach out to us and let us know. So we do have an MOU with Sound Beginnings, so we are aware when children have been referred to you, but we really want to make sure that we support you in the time in which you need that support. So we just kind of wait until you feel like you're ready to have us join the team. But we'll come in as early as you would like us to. And then we also will incorporate the language assessment program, which I'll talk about a little bit later once we join the team. So our mission is to make sure that our infants and toddlers who are deaf and hard of hearing, well, the families anyway, receive comprehensive and unbiased support and information. We are strong believers that when families have all of the information, they make really good choices. And so we want to provide that expertise in deaf, hard of hearing and that very specific deaf, hard of hearing information so that they can make great choices for their child. And again, we serve children regardless of their hearing level and regardless of what language they access. So Spanish, English, Mandarin, we serve all of those children, and then children who have a very minimal hearing loss, mild hearing loss just in 1 year, all the way to profound. So any of those are children that we would like to serve. So how do we serve them? We partner with you all. So we partner with the programs and provide that secondary support to you. Our job is to kind of give you that specialized support that you need related to deaf, hard of hearing. So we try to have a good handle on all the resources available in the state of Kansas, all the supports and services that will meet those families' needs related to that hearing loss. I think it's always important to remember that often their baby is the first person they have met who is deaf, hard of hearing. And sometimes for our providers, we often hear that this is the first one you've ever had to. And so that's just where we come in. We have a lot of years of experience, and all we do is work with children who are deaf and hard of hearing. So we can kind of help support in that process. So we serve as a secondary support person on your team. We provide support to both the families and the providers. The frequency is determined as part of that team approach. So we collaborate with you to determine the frequency that will best support you and best support the family. And then we stay with you until the child transitions at age 3. So we kind of, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's a little bit different about us, is that we can kind of support you in viewing through that lens of language access. So our children don't have the same access to the world around them through their ears as other kids do. And so that can have a really big impact on their social, receptive, and expressive communication. And then long-term, it can have effect on academics and all of those skills. And I know that it seems like our children who have a mild hearing loss or unilateral hearing loss probably aren't very impacted by that access issue. But our data is showing that they really are, they also struggle, and they also are at risk for language delays. And so we can kind of help support you in that communication and language piece for them. And then we also look at it from our language development from a depth and breadth perspective. So we really can help you understand what they might be missing. So looking at language assessments in terms of looking for potential gaps or identifying those gaps really early so that we can affect outcome change on that. So just a reminder, so once they enter your program, we hope that you'll call us and then we will join the team. And then I think my next slide, yes, our next slide is to talk about the language assessment program for deaf and hard of hearing. So as part of receiving our SoundStart services, we will automatically include the language assessment program into that services that we provide. The purpose, so there was a law passed in 2016 that requires all children who are deaf and hard of hearing be assessed, monitored, and tracked in their language milestones, and specifically in ASL and or English, and that will be done annually. Obviously, the goals are to make sure we identify these gaps and delays early, make sure we have age-appropriate language skills, and make sure they're kindergarten ready. So we acknowledge that there are children that speak other languages other than ASL and English. So while the law does only ask that we assess in ASL and or English, we do our very best to support those families using other languages and helping them also identify gaps and delays. So just know that we're not going to not include those children. We just have to look at it just a little bit differently. So we have very specific protocol and process that we use for these language assessments. And we do the language assessments, do a language sample, and we share the report out with you all and with the family. Again, it's included as part of our services, and then we will provide all of the permissions, assessments, we'll do all the work. We may ask you to pass something on to the family or pick up something from the family. We have had some providers who've been so nice and helped us get some forms filled out when we were kind of struggling to get them back. We do try to collaborate with you throughout the whole process because sometimes you see those children much more often than we do. And so we always want to make sure that what we're seeing in that assessment period reflects what you all see on the regular basis. So if you have questions about that program, you can always email me. I'm happy to answer questions on here and or more in depth. Jenny, was there a question? I feel like the chats had a couple things.
There's just one question that was, I think, responded to by Kylie about please review the first one about hearing impaired versus.
Oh, yes. So the deaf community really considers hearing impaired to be a negative term. So when we're talking about the deaf community, they actually don't think that they have a disability. They view their deafness as a positive. And so they really have felt like when we say hearing impaired, that would suggest that there's something wrong. And so they have asked that we use deaf and hard of hearing to identify the population. We also use deaf blind and there's additional terminology depending on what additional things are happening with that person. Does that answer that question? I think so. Okay. If not, ask more questions. Yes, that is a shift in our thinking. And so I appreciate the questions.
And one more question is, what language assessment tool do you use?
So we have actually several that we use. We do a language sample. We do a 20-minute video. And then we have two primary assessments in English that we use. We have the MacArthur Communication Development Inventory, MCDI, vocabulary checklist. And then we also use a tool called the Cottage Acquisition Scales for Language, Listening, and Speech, I think is what it is, called CASTLES. I might have done that wrong. In ASL, we have again, a vocabulary checklist that is research-based out of the MacArthur group. And then the visual communication and sign language scale that we use to assess in ASL.
Erin, can you go back to that slide?
Yep, I just saw that.
And
I will send this to Jenny too, so that she can, but yes, I will give you a hot second if you want to take a picture of that.
And then another question, is it typical for Sound Start to always do visits with the EI provider, or do they ever go separately?
So I'll be honest with you, we try as much as possible to go with the EI provider and follow that model that we have here in Kansas in coaching. But I think I will be realistic, and I think you all would be too, that sometimes scheduling just doesn't fly. And so sometimes we work with you and collaborate with you, but sometimes if we have your permission, we will go separately in order to support that family and meet those needs, kind of that just-in-time information. I will also say that our lab visits, we will sometimes do those separately since it's really just us getting that assessment done. So we'll typically sometimes do that assessment visit separately. But we are having to be flexible because our caseloads are pretty high. And so scheduling is becoming a little bit challenging. So we do our best to follow the model and know that there are exceptions. Okay, any other questions I can do right now? Otherwise did everybody have a chance, hopefully, to take a picture? Okay. Oh, I see another question. The question is, does your program have a preferred resources of well-made sign pictures to help daycare providers and parents learn some initial signs that would work on our little's natural routines? FSCs, I feels like we struggle to find really good pictures that are not so animated. It's difficult to understand the sign movement easily. Find this constantly an area of need. Yes, it is challenging because ASL is a 3D language. And when we try to shove it into pictures, it does not really work that well. So there are a few apps that we like to encourage families that we've kind of vetted that we like when we're looking at a 3D version of that have videos. But we do have sign sheets that we have we have a bunch of pictures that we have, and we've put them into some, like we have one that's like a daycare or childcare with some of their routines on it. We are happy to send those out if you email us. We can develop individual ones based on family needs sometimes. But yes, it is a little bit challenging. So usually I do I'm going to model these signs for you. And then this sign sheet is your helpful reminder of what you learned doing that. I've also been known to send a video, like some just-in-time videos of how do you sign this? And I'll just send a video of me doing it if that's needed too. So we'll try to help you meet those needs. Please feel free to reach out though, and we'll do our best to help support you. Okay, did I miss any other ones?
I think you're good to go on.
Okay. We'll move ahead. So, and there's just a few additional supports that I always like to share about, just so you're aware. So we have a parent support specialist, Laura Lee Plummer. She is our parent-to-parent support coordinator, and her job is to just help families connect with other families, help families just get some support as needed. She's a parent herself. She has 3 children who are deaf and hard of hearing. She has 1 child that is hearing. So she has a lot of experience and knowledge in raising deaf children. So Paths is the program that she runs, and that provides, we do family events across the state of Kansas. So we just did one in Garden City. I think we're working on scheduling one in the kind of north of Wichita area for this spring. And we have one at KSD this spring as well. So we have events all the way throughout the year. And families can click that link, and I believe that it takes them to a sign-up sheet, and she'll get you on the list, and then you'll just automatically get those emails about the events. And we try to send them out as providers too, so that you know. Are there parent support programs in Spanish? So I will let you know that, I mean, we have some resources in Spanish. It is challenging, but we always provide any interpreters that are needed at our events. So if we need a Spanish speaking interpreter, if we need Mandarin, whatever that language is for that family so that they can engage with other families, we will provide that. But we are trying to work on our Spanish resources, but it is a little challenging. And that's a good question. Thank you. So Deaf Mentor is our other primarily birth to 3 program. And it provides one-on-one classes for families with an adult who is deaf. They have been through specific training and they follow a specific curriculum, but they provide one-on-one classes to help families learn ASL, to help them learn about deaf culture. We do it through Zoom for families that live outside of our Kansas City area. We are recruiting deaf mentors now and are hopeful that we can hire someone that lives maybe in the Wichita area so that we can do a little bit more in person for our families that are farther away. But this is a great program to really quickly learn ASL. They get about 30 sessions with their deaf mentor. So that usually takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get through. So they'll have someone with them for a couple years. The Hearing Aid Bank is actually through Special Healthcare Needs, but I just wanted to highlight it because it's specific to our children who are deaf and hard of hearing. So for our families who receive Medicaid, hearing aids are covered by Medicaid, but for our families that receive private or have private insurance, often our hearing aids are not covered by insurance, not even like a little bit covered by insurance. And so they are very expensive pieces of equipment. And so there is money available for those families to receive their first pair of hearing aids or first hearing aid, depending on the needs of the child, and up to 4 ear molds for the first year. And so it's a really great program. So I always say a family should never pay out of pocket for their first set of hearing aids. So please, if you have a family that's about to get them and you're not sure, please feel free to contact us and we'll help you kind of navigate how to make sure that they get those hearing aids covered. And then Family Science Kansas is another program that is a sign language class for our families. We usually encourage our birth to 3 families to use Deaf Mentor as their first option, but then Family Science Kansas is an alternative option if Deaf Mentor is not available or not working for them or wouldn't work for them. So how do you get us? It's super easy. So first of all, we'd love for you to start with us early. There's a lot of information overload happening at the very beginning and a lot of troubleshooting around all of the appointments that they have to get to, making sure that the hearing aids are covered, all of those pieces. And obviously we all know that language development starts early. So we love to be in there as soon as possible after referral. But we obviously want to recognize that you will contact us when you're ready and in need of that support. It's really as simple as emailing me. I just would love to have a copy of the IFSP. And if you have any audiological information that you could share, that would help us in just understanding what's going on. That's pretty much all I need at this moment. Obviously, we always are tweaking our processes, so I'll try to keep you updated if we end up changing that plan. But the IFSP usually gives me all I need to get them entered into our database and into our program. Once I have that IFSP we have monthly staffing meetings, or team meetings, and so we staff the kids at that meeting. So following that staffing, I will reach out to you and let you know who your Sound Start specialist will be. And then from there, you just invite us on a home visit. You work with that specialist to coordinate a joint visit. And at this moment, there is no cost to you or to the family. I always just say we have a car and we will drive. So we would just love to support you and meet the needs. This is just a list of our specialists. So we have a specialist that lives out in Western Kansas. We also have one that lives in Wichita. And the rest of us have rental cars that we get to take and drive across the state of Kansas. So we're all here for you and we'd be glad to support you. And I think that's maybe all I have. So are there any additional questions? And I can stop sharing so we can. All right, well, feel free to email me or contact me if you have kind of additional questions. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, our final resource sharing for today is Families Together, and Leslie Gerard is planning to share this information.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Is the slideshow showing okay? All right, great. Well, again, thank you for having me. My name is Leslie Gerard, and I've been with Families Together, gosh, since 1988. So I've been here a while as we've grown and evolved. And so I'm really excited for the opportunity to talk with you all today. I'm so impressed with how many of you are here. So again, thank you for allowing me to come in for just a little while. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Families Together. I would love to know. So even if you could put in your chat, yes or no, that you haven't, what you know about Families Together, if you've heard of us. And Jenny, it doesn't look like I'm seeing the chat. I'm trying to get to where I can. But I don't need to see that now, but just wanted you to know that, oh, wait, here, just before we get going, I'm going to try. See, yep, I just pulled it up. Great. Okay, great. Lots of yeses. That's wonderful. So we'll just really be able to whip through this, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about us today. And also notice there was somebody in there that is an education advocate for us. So thanks. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. So thanks so much for putting that in there. You know, the one thing that I really want you to walk away with today is to know that everyone that works at Families Together is a family member of a child or a youth, or now, you know, adults with disabilities ourselves. And so we are parents, grandparents, siblings of persons who have needed some maybe extra services, or some, you know, some of the services that you've all provided. Just share with you right up front that you guys were instrumental in helping my granddaughter, because she is hard of hearing, and she received services under an individual family service plan. She's now a junior in high school, so it was a long time ago, but I know that I can particularly remember how much support my daughter felt from her speech therapist in that infant toddler program. So thanks so much. So with that, just really want you guys to know that we are people over here that have walked in those shoes and continue to walk in those shoes. And we really want to support families. And we do it, you know, every day. And so please know that we're available Monday through Friday. And, you know, we do things on the weekends too. And would love for you to maybe share with families, you know, to reach out to us, or even just to get on our website and sign up, because, you know, they may not need us now, but as they continue down their journey, they might end up, you know, needing some more help from us. And it's always nice for you guys to make that introduction. We don't typically hear as much from families with infants and toddlers as far as, you know, asking questions about how the process works, or, you know, some of the things that we kind of tend to hear as kids get older. But, you know, I always feel like it's great to let them know right off the bat who's out there for them and available, and some of the different things that we can do to help them. Here's a slide that I like to share that has just a quick thing about our history. We've been around a while. As you can see, we were founded in 1982, and we were actually founded by a master's level student at the University of Kansas, and she just wanted to bring families together. So hence the name. So it really was not about training at that point. It was like, let's just get these families together, let them know that there are others out there who can, you know, that they're experiencing similar challenges and that can support one another. And then some of the goal was just to make families remember that you're a family. You can still do all the things families do and have fun together, and, you know, have that support. So that's really what it started out to be. Out of that group, and some of you may recognize the names of Rudd and Ann Turnbull from the Beach Center on Family and Disability at the University of Kansas. Well, Rudd and Ann were at that original gathering that was held at the Lawrence Holodome at the time. And so these families came together, and again, just not about training, just getting to know each other, getting to gain support from one another. And they started talking about this movement that they heard about that was called the Parent Training and Information Centers across the state. And so we are that for Kansas, and I'm not going to jump ahead yet because I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but we were established as the Parent Training Information Center in 1986, and we've been that since then. That designation comes from the Office of Special Education Programs at the federal level. Then just giving you a little sense of some of our different partnerships throughout our history here. So, and you'll learn a little bit about some of those that you may not have heard as much about. I just want to let you know where we're located. So we do serve the state. I'm in Topeka. We have 2 physical offices, and those are in Topeka and Wichita. But as you can see, we have remote staff in all different areas of Kansas. And I have to update this slide because we recently added someone. Oh, I did update it. It's Great Ben. Yeah. So she's our newest person. So we have about 5 people that work in the Kansas City metro area. And I think we're going to put another physical office there, just looking for some space right now. But, you know, a lot of people are working remotely. We kind of have a hybrid. And so people are in the office and outside of the office. It It really doesn't matter where, you contact or where you end up reaching out, because we're going to get you to the right person with Families Together. Also, we do have Spanish speaking team members. I feel like we're really fortunate. We have 4 people that also speak Spanish. 3 of those people work with families and youth. One of them is our HR person, but she previously has worked with providing services to families. So we feel, again, fortunate that we have someone who can speak to families if they're looking for someone to speak to them, and if their native language is Spanish. And we also, one of those persons is a wonderful translator. And so Josh has done a tremendous job at translating most of our workshops, our materials, just, all kinds of resources from English to Spanish for us. So also feel very good about, the amount of resources we have available in Spanish. And I see that message there, and I don't know if it's the first one, but I'll jump to it about what about other less common languages. Typically, we will try to find someone, to help us with that. A lot of times we'll reach out to just different agencies, school, colleges, just different organizations that serve families, and just try to find someone that can help with that interpretation for less common languages. So here's just a list. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we do through that Parent Training and Information Center grant. And I always like to remind people that the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, so the statute that says how we're all going to go about doing business for eligible children from birth, through 2021 in Kansas, is that statute has language in it that says every state will have a Parent Training and Information Center. So that same law that tells us how we're going to provide those individual family service plans and IEPs and all of those regulations that go along with that also says every state needs to have a Parent Training Information Center to help families understand this process. So that's our goal. It truly is to just help families understand, what does that mean? When my child is receiving these services, what do I need to know? What are my responsibilities? What are my child's rights? What are they entitled to? So all of those things are what we spend, like I said, Monday through Friday talking with families about. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and empower families. I think I had a slide for that. I might have gone through it really quickly, but I like to always pause after I say our mission, because I also want you to know what we are not. So we are not case managers, we are not therapists, we are not lawyers. We're not here to speak for families. We are here to empower them and help them learn to kind of find their voices sometimes, and just help them to be the best advocates that they can be for themselves and their children. The individualized assistance that we provide is what I often refer to as our bread and butter, or I think the most important thing that we do, because it is that one-on-one assistance that we do every day. We have several family resource specialists across the state, and this is their primary role and responsibility with Families Together. And it's just to provide that information and support to those families, kind of take those families wherever they're at, and move forward. I think it's the most important thing we do. A lot of times it is over the phone, some little bit through email, lots of Zoom meetings, and sometimes in person. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the frameworks that we use and how we do that. And we also do the information and referral, to lots of different organizations. So it's been great to be on this and hear about all the great work of the people that presented before me. So just reminding myself of all the ways that you all help families, and so that we can continue to make those referrals. And then family and youth training. We have a lot of different family and youth training opportunities, and our grant, so I mentioned that it's through the Office of Special Education Programs at the Federal Department of Education. And I think it was about 2015 when they expanded it to go beyond the family, and we also provide direct services to youth now. And so in Kansas, that's age 14 and up. We typically start younger than that on a lot of our stuff, but formally we do have some requirements around working with youth 14 and up. So this just describes the individualized assistance a little bit more. You know, I think that reviewing not as many IFSPs, to be honest. We don't get as many requests from families to review those. We review lots of IEPs and Section 504 plans and behavior intervention plans. We use the Charting the Life Course framework. Many of you might already be familiar with that. If you're not, I encourage you to look it up. I'll have a resource that I can send you for a lot of the resources I'm referencing today. There we have a Padlet that you can go to that will have all of those resources. But I think it's a great resource, and it's what we use with families when we're doing, you know, honestly, just all of our individualized assistance, but we delve into it more deeply the deeper we are working with a family. You know, we provide our individualized assistance on a tiered level. So tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And if you think about the MTSS system, multi-tier of, gosh, I can't even think of it right now, but I know you guys know. the acronym isn't coming off my tongue very easily this morning. But in that MTS system, as you know, there's the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and it goes from, you know, kind of tier 1 being what we provide to everyone. And it's the same thing with us. You know, we kind of have those basic things that we talk to families about no matter how they come to us. And then we move on up that framework or tiers, depending on the intensity of what that family needs. And so in tier 2, we're going to be doing more intensive work with the family. And that's really where we get into that more reviewing of some of those different plans that we talked about. And also talking about not only just in tier 1, giving them the tools and charting the life course framework, but then kind of teaching them how to use it and using it alongside with them in that tier 2 and tier 3 level. We are all about building relationships. We do not do any kind of monitoring. We don't look for whether or not people are compliant. You know, a lot of times families call us when things aren't going well. I jokingly say that you don't call your doctor when you're feeling great. You know, you call your doctor when you're sick, and we tend to hear from families more when they're confused or they're, you know, have concerns or they're not understanding or they feel like their children aren't getting what they feel they need or what they want them to be getting, and then kind of just talking about that with them, helping them really understand free and appropriate public education, you know, what that means. So just really informing, educating, but also encouraging positive relationships. I think that's one of the most important things we can do, because when families come to us, our goal is certainly not to keep them escalated or to escalate the situation. We really want to get them focused on, okay, how do we build a stronger team? Whether they're looking at, you know, a child transitioning from Part C to Part B, or if we're, you know, particularly looking around those IEP teams and, you know, just kind of building strength among the team and positive relationships. Looking a little bit more, you know, kind of at just some of the things we do. Look here, see if I want to add anything. I don't think so. I mean, obviously you guys aren't getting as much into some of those disciplinary things and such until kids get into preschool. Unfortunately, we are hearing more in that 3 to 5. So it's amazing how early on we start looking at parents needing to really understand things like the manifestation determination review, etc. But these are just kind of topics that, again, that we will talk to families about related to that individualized assistance. I want to talk a little bit more about the mentoring piece, and this would be when we're kind of at that tier 3 level. And so we're providing kind of intensive individual support, and we're reviewing those plans, and we're facilitating that person-centered planning through the life course framework. And you'll see some examples of that charting the life course framework as we move forward, but we really are helping them prepare. And so in a sense, if you're looking at even transitioning, helping families prepare for that Part C to Part B transition, what that's going to look like. And also just reminding them that they can invite, I know and again, this may have changed and it may happen more often than I realize, but I know with my granddaughter, my daughter was really discouraged because she wanted her Part C person with her, and it was not happening very seamlessly for her to have that person as part of that initial IEP meeting. And she really wanted that person there and felt like there was a lot of value in that. And at the time, I think she felt like, there was a bit of it almost seemed like she felt like she was in the middle of a turf war. And I don't say that lightly. So I just, something to remind, everyone that it's great for the families if people seem to be working well together and we're making that handoff in a very positive, seamless way for those families. But I know back then she kind of had to struggle to stress that she wanted her, I think it was a speech therapist, that she really wanted to be involved. So, and then in that IEP mentoring piece, or IFSP IEP 504 mentoring piece, one of the big differences between just the typical individualized assistance that we do every day is that we actually attend the meeting with the family, because that's one of the number one requests we get. And as you can imagine, we're not able to attend every meeting when we're requested to be there. And so we really have looked at, number one, making sure that have the staff capacity and time to give to those families that really need that. So we're looking first at families that, maybe there's a language barrier, or the families have disabilities themselves, or they're working with multiple service systems. And so they're just really, having to navigate a lot of different things and need someone to help with that. So when we're doing that, we're really getting, the buy-in, if you will, from the families, because they have to be willing to share information with us. They have to be willing to go through this Charting a Life Course framework process, because it really is taking a look at, what they want to see for their sons and daughters, and then all the way up to going to the meeting with them and just providing that support. But again, not talking for them. One of the things I often say to our team is, if we're at a meeting and we're doing a lot of talking, then that needs to be a red flag for us. Because again, we're not there to take the place of that family. We're there to support them and help them, find their voices. And we have, wonderful people. Like I said, they've all experienced these things themselves. And so we all know what it's like to sit there in that chair and to feel that intimidation and kind of get lost in the acronyms and not really be sure, about, what to do. But, and obviously very emotionally charged, because we're talking about our, babes, and so we're just kind of helping families navigate that. Like I said, we use the Charting the Life Course framework. I'm going to move forward here a little bit, and you'll see some examples of it as we move through. We do offer training across the state, so just wanted to give you some examples of some of the topics. You'll see there the Step Ahead at Age 3 transition from Part C to Part B. We'll talk about that a bit more soon, but here's just some different topics. We do have one, I will tell you, that families are important, Part C infant toddler services. We previously, and I'm talking a long time ago, because like I said, I've been around a bit, we did this more often, but we really just don't get a lot of requests for that. So that one really looks at, Part C services and that individual family service plan. I think it's because honestly, you do a great job, because we're just not hearing from families being real confused at that early stages, but it is available and something that we can do. And the other part of it is what we learned and acknowledged was families, especially birth through 2, that you're just now having your baby and bringing your child into your family, this whole process. So we acknowledge that sometimes having these trainings and having one more thing to do and by another agency involved can kind of seem daunting or cumbersome to families. And so we don't want that. We want to be here as a support. We want them to know that it's, on their timeline when they feel like they want to reach out, will be available. We do have a couple of conferences I wanted to make sure and talk about. One is our Parent Leadership Conference. You may be aware of this one already, but it's a wonderful event for families. We do it in collaboration with about 13 other agencies, I think, and it's an overnight event. It is happening in September. I don't have the date off the top of my head. But again, watch for that. And again, this is an example of why we really want you to connect families with us as early as possible, because then they are going to get on our email list. We send out, different publications regularly. And so they're going to get all that information. They're going to have access to announcements about these kinds of conferences and opportunities for them. The cool thing about the Parent Leadership Conference is that it is free and it's overnight. And sometimes there's families there that really don't have the opportunity to do that very much. It was held at a hotel, and we have lots of different workshops, training opportunities for parents to connect with one another. And then the children in the family also have the opportunity, I guess, to play. We have all kinds of things put together, all the way from, those babies through the teenage years. Honestly, we've expanded that to even include some training and opportunities for kiddos around, 12 to 16. This has been very well received by families. They love it. It does fill up very quickly. And so I always tell anyone that I'm speaking with to encourage your families to sign up as soon as you get notice about it. We do at Families Together handle their registration. So I feel like we kind of get that, a little bit of get that out to the families really quickly, let them know that it's open and available. You can always cancel. It's how I look at it. But if you get on the list, then you have that opportunity, and before it ends up being a waiting list. The team empowerment conferences, we work with other agencies to provide, and it is open to parents and professionals, families, I should say, however that family makeup is. The professionals, typically, most of our training is, I'm not going to say most, but a good majority of it is for families. But we do have several events that we also include professionals or people in the field, or families and professionals are learning side by side, which can be pretty powerful. The Team Empowerment Conference is one of those. And we usually, like I said, collaborate with someone. So if any of you would want to collaborate with us to provide something in your area, and we could come in, provide some training, also have some funding available that we could maybe help with lunch or different things for families. So that's something we do. We've worked with a lot of different school districts to do this, and are happy to also work with Infant Toddler Network on anything like this that might sound beneficial. I've kind of so far have talked about our Parent Training and Information Center grant and activities. Now I'm just going to switch to our Family to Family Health Information Center. So much like our Parent Training Information Center is focused on education, this one is obviously focused on health. And so that's also a federal designation. We do similar things, as in we provide that individualized assistance and we provide information and referrals, but it's about health, it's about, health insurance, finding doctors, if, finding another family to talk to if your child is getting ready to have a certain procedure and you want to just kind of learn more from another family about it. Also the navigating, Medicaid or our home and community-based services waivers, understanding those types of things. Those are the activities that our team working on the Family to Family Health Information Center grant are focused on. Here are just some additional things that we offer through that. This caring notebook that we have and it's available. You get it. It's Spanish and English both, but it's a notebook, and it is a hard copy notebook, so it's not a PDF or electronic version. Families tend to still love it, and we get a lot of requests for it, and families can just keep all of their information in one place, and it's something they can easily take, to doctor's visits and keep, all that information. And it's tabbed really nicely for families. So if that's something that's of interest, please know that it's available for families. We do have a parent-to-parent program. I kind of talked about it briefly, matching up families with other families that are, experiencing similar things, or if a newborn comes into family's life and the family wants to hook up with another family who has a child with a similar disability, for instance, that's something that we can provide. And it's really more emotional support, just having that peer-to-peer lived experience conversation. Then it isn't focused on kind of the technical things or helping families understand the processes like our family resource specialists do, but more focused on just providing support. And really sometimes lifelong friendships are formed through these parent-to-parent matches. I do want to talk about our Education Advocate program just a bit, even though it's for ages 3 through 21. Because there is that transition piece. And so this is designed for those children who are in the custody of our state. So if they're in the custody of DCF or they're homeless and unaccompanied, hopefully that's not going to be any of the young ones, but if they are in the custody of DCF and their parental rights have been terminated, or the parents are unknown or unavailable, and they meet the eligibility, I know that with Part C, the foster parent can act in this role, and there's they can do that. The federal and state law allows them to do that. But then when they transition and they turn age 3, then there's some extra requirements that come into play. So at age 3, the person, the foster parent, for instance, who may have been acting on the child's behalf and making legal decision making in that individual family service plan, they no longer are going to have the authority to do that when we transition to Part B. They would have to have gone through the Education Advocate training and been officially appointed. Families Together coordinates that program through a contract with the State Department of Education. We've done that we've been a part of that contract since the day I started. But more recently, for the past several years, we pretty much do the entire process, to where we're taking all the referrals in, we're doing the training, we're doing the matching, and we're making those official appointments. So I like to let you guys know that, because sometimes, again, you may have been having a foster parent doing a lot of that signing, but at the point that someone needs to legally sign to have a comprehensive evaluation done to see if the child is eligible for Part B services, we need to make sure that those children that are eligible under this program have that Education Advocate in place. And so that would happen before they actually turn age 3. So just put that in there for you all. Again, this is just another slide telling you about that, and I will also get these slides to Jenny. So I do want to talk about our new grant that we have through DCF, the Family Advocacy Support and Training, or FAST grant, because it's, to me, very exciting, and I think is going to be very helpful for families. And we want the Infant Toddler Network to know about this. We are going to be providing a presentation to the State Interagency Coordinating Council, or SICC, and then also available to provide presentations to local ICCs as well. But through the FAST program, we are going to be able to provide a lot of the things that I've already talked about. So I'm not going to restate those things. I will say that the FAST program is for birth up to age 18. So once a child reaches age 18, they're no longer eligible for it. Here are the requirements as far as eligibility. There has to be at least one child in the family that has an intellectual or developmental disability, or there can be a dual diagnosis of IDD and mental illness. The family or the child cannot be receiving services through any of the home and community-based services waivers, unless I guess I misstated that. So they can't be receiving services on the IDD waiver. they could be receiving services on the SED, serious emotional disabilities waiver, if they're having those services as they're waiting for a slot on the IDD waiver. But all that to say, for you all to know, if you have families, particularly families that may be very high need families, maybe even at risk of their children entering foster care, we have this FAST grant. And through the FAST grant, we can actually, we do all the things we do, but we also have some discretionary funding that is available for families, because sometimes, you know, financial stressors are a big part of what's going on. An example of that, I'll just, you know, we had someone recently that needed some ABA services or ABA therapy for their child, and they couldn't afford the copay, or I guess it was they couldn't afford the deductible, actually, you know, what they had to pay to reach their deductible before insurance kicked in for them. And we were able to step in and help with that. Another example is a family that was experiencing hardship and needed some help with utility payments. We've been asked about families needing help with, you know, maybe a treatment at their home, you know, maybe someone asked about a bed bug infestation, for instance. So I'm just giving you a few examples because we don't have just, you know, a defined set list of things that we are able to help with using these funds. We look at it on a case by case or, you know, individualized basis. And I think that's really exciting because sometimes, you know, we put a box around things and we can't help with things, but we are absolutely able to help with a lot of different things. And again, just looking at it on a case by case basis. The thing that we cannot do is we cannot ever provide funds directly to the families. And so when we do things like this, we're paying, you know, that third party. We cannot give gift cards. So those are things, can't purchase any gift cards. So for instance, if a family was needing, you know, let's just say food. And so and we will work with community agencies because we know there's a lot of different agencies that provide, you know, different things like this. And so we will kind of exhaust, you know, and help them exhaust what's available. But if we needed to help them with food, for instance, we would have to figure out how to do that without directly giving the families money or a gift card. So we would figure out how to do that. I see the question in here about childcare services. The thing that we have to look or childcare services, we have to look in every situation at, will the family be able to take on the expense at some point? So say we will do it for, you know, a month or two, or, you know, whatever the duration is, you know, that we feel we can handle as far as our funds, and then showing that they can sustain that. So as long as we feel like they will be able to sustain it, because sometimes it's temporary, you know, you've had some other financial emergency that has put you in this place of not being able to make ends meet. You know, we're kind of there to step in and do that, not to do something that we think is going to be ongoing. All right, I'm going to keep moving forward a little bit more about the assistance related to you guys in particular. So again, I think I've probably hit on most of these. Let me see. I mean, I think I've already said all of that, you know, so I'm just going to keep moving here, talk a little bit more about Step Ahead at age 3. So we do have the guided resource and we do have them available. They have been revamped and not, you know, we're, you know, how it is, we're in a constant state of editing things, but I'm excited about our current version. It is available electronically, but we do have a lot of hard copies right now. And that's honestly thanks to KSDE. So I'm gives thanks where thanks is due. So the Kansas State Department of Education gave us some of the relief funds. We have a grant using some of the relief funds from the COVID pandemic. And so it's been great to be able to use some of those funds to look at, okay, how can we strengthen families? You know, what are some resources that people have really valued? So this is an example of something that we are using. with families. And again, we get a lot of requests about. So here I'm just going to let you see. A lot of you, I think, have already seen it, but in case you haven't, here's some examples from the inside of the booklet. It really just takes families through that transition from Part C to Part B. We also have a training that goes along with that booklet, and we would love to come out and do that. We are doing that. We've actually worked with Erin, our previous presenter, we're going to be providing that in her area, and would love to come out and gather families together and do a training for them, provide the families with the booklets, go through it, answer questions. And then we like to try to incorporate a meal. So we'll, hopefully have a meal with that as well, just to let families know, that we're out here and available to help them. Resources, tons of resources, website, please check those things out. Also, since we are in the legislative session right now, we just let you know that we will help families if there's something that they want to give testimony on or provide more information about to their legislators. We're happy to help families with that. Sometimes that's kind of daunting again to think about putting something like that together, but we think that the family story and legislators hearing from families and their experience is so valuable. So we are here to help them with that as well, if that's ever something that's helpful. We really like to emphasize this sense of belonging, because we feel like that's what it's really about. We want every family to feel that sense of belonging and to know that we're here to help them. I will put up this last slide here just to let you know that if you can grab that QR code right there, that'll take you to, I think the link tree takes you to our social media and our website and different things. And then I'm hoping that the QR code, I should have checked it first. It should maybe take you to our Padlet, but I will make sure and get Jenny all of that information, because if you're not familiar with the Padlet, it's a electronic platform that you can go to, and just all kinds of resources are there. So you'll see all of the different things I've talked about. Some of the other resources that we have are on positive childhood experiences, also on ACEs or adverse child experiences, stress in the family, just, tons of different resources that we hope will be helpful for families. And I will stop there and stop sharing and see if anybody has any questions for me.
Leslie,
Okay, thank you.
right now, I definitely appreciate all the information that you shared. I know, we're at the end of our time now. So if people have information or have questions that they would like to still ask, but weren't able to do so today, if you just shoot them my way, I'll stick my email in the chat, and then I can get them to the right person, or you can also reach directly out to the people that presented today. Like always, I'll send out another email letting you know where these materials will be housed in Basecamp. And of course, there are only certain people in each program that have access to that Basecamp, but they can pull it down for anybody in the program to be able to use and watch at a later time. Next time we'll meet on April 4th from 9 to 11. And the programs that will be represented are DCF, KCSL, and then we're also going to spend a little bit of time talking about family surveys. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.